Hi, and welcome to another one of my maneuvering videos. This time it's quite a simple one. We're bringing in the pure car carrier Hoegh Osaka into the Kieldrecht lock in the port of Antwerp. Now, the Hoegh Osaka, she's a roll-on, roll-off car carrier. She was built in the year 2000. She's about 179.9 meters long. That's about 590 feet. And she's got a beam of 32.2 meters or 106 feet. Today, her draft is 9.3 meters. Hoegh Osaka, she's a little bit infamous because on January 3, 2015, after departure Southampton, United Kingdom, she basically capsized and she was grounded. They salvaged the vessel and it was put back in use. So that's the Hoegh Osaka, and I'll let you enjoy the maneuvering. I'll do some explaining about what's going on during this video.
Just be aware of that can happen, okay?
A few things I want to point out in the display there. A few things that might be of interest. Some data that you might be interested in. First of all, we'll have the speed over ground, longitudinal speed over ground. We will also have the heading of the ship, where she's pointing basically, and then the course over ground, which is where she's actually going. So it doesn't mean because you're pointing in a certain direction that you're going into that direction. You'll also see the lateral movement, so the sideways movement of the bow and the stern. So that's also quite important when you're maneuvering. Then on the main display, where you see the ship's silhouette, you'll also see some distances on both sides of the vessel, forward and aft, and that's actually it's the distance from the walls of the lock. So we can basically have a virtual extension of the lock walls on our pilot unit. Okay, and now you see something interesting happening. You'll see that my bow is suddenly being pushed to the starboard side. I've had some comments saying, oh, it's the wind. This was actually a wind still day, so nothing to do with the wind. What is actually happening, you'll see on my port side, you'll see the container vessel MSC Beijing mooring, so on arrival, and you see the tugboat VB Eagle pushing on her stern. So what I'm feeling is the propeller wash from the VB Eagle pushing my
I know,
bow
but he's got hard
to
over
starboard.
port, so that's why I said to you.
And when you see the ship moving forward, when I'm moving forward, you'll then suddenly see the wash hitting my stern, and my stern is getting pushed to starboard, and it creates a turn to port side. In this case, I know that this will happen. I've informed the captain, I've informed the helmsman, I've told him that he can expect that, so he doesn't overreact. If on first reaction when the bow moves to starboard, he gives like hard to port and keeps it hard to port for too long, and then suddenly the stern gets pushed to starboard and you start already turning to port, together with a hard port rudder, you're basically just going to make a uncontrolled turn to port and you might hit the wall on the south side. So the helmsman is warned, he knows about it, very important. So everything's under control. It was all to be expected. You can also see I'm being assisted by the tugboat Multitug 9. She's on my stern, center lead aft, tugs line. That's the traditional configuration if we here in the port of Antwerp. We'll, if we have a forward tug, we'll be also center lead, tugs line. Multitug 9, she's a 62-ton bollard pull tug. The dead slow speed of my vessel is about 4 knots. I'm mainly going to use the tugboat for reducing the speed, not for steering. Lots of people think that we use the tugboat for steering. I will try and use the rudder as long as possible. That's why I'll keep the engine running as long as possible, so I can get pressure on my rudder and just keep on steering. And the tugboat will control my speed. Okay, and here I'm going to tell you a little trick that I like to use
75 to port on the
when
bow.
especially maneuvering with car carriers.
Yep.
Now, of course, maneuvering it's a very personal thing, so everybody has their little tips and tricks. But this is something I like to use. I'll just give the helmsman a heading to steer, and in this case, I'll take the heading or the direction of the lock, so the actual construction heading of the lock. So I'll tell the helmsman to steer that heading. I'll take into account maybe a small compass error, but basically I'll tell him to steer that heading. So what happens then, if I use the bow thruster, if I put the
50 on the
bow
bow.
thruster to starboard, the bow will start moving to starboard. The helmsman will notice that, and he'll start giving port rudder to compensate for the bow thruster movement. So what happens then is the bow moves to starboard, the stern will also move to starboard because of the port side rudder, and the whole ship will bodily move sideways. This way, I basically keep the ship parallel to the wall, but move the whole ship bodily sideways to where I want it to go. So I'm not fiddling around with changing headings or whatever. It also gives me a little bit peace of mind. It's one less thing I have to worry about, like, oh, did I give 10 degrees rudder, 20 degrees rudder, starboard, port side? I'm just letting the helmsman do his thing to keep it on the heading, and I'm just worried about my distance to the wall.
Beijing 2 voorlaan en rol.
So the bow is entering the lock. Here we have like a little rule that we have around 2 knots of speed when entering the lock. It can be a little bit more, it can be a little bit less, but just somewhere around 2 knots is fine. And as I told you before, the tugboat is controlling my speed. She's keeping her at 2 knots, although my engine is still on dead slow ahead, which would normally give me a speed of about 4 knots.
Osaka voor de Kieldrecht.
Goedenavond, Kieldrecht, Osaka luistert.
Bankboot vullen,
Backboard in het midden, de tactic bedankt, tot straks.
Just a little bit of information about Kieldrecht lock. Kieldrecht lock is a lock with the following dimensions. She's got a length of 500 meters, 1,600 feet, a width of 68 meters, which is 223 feet, and her operational depth below the lowest astronomical tide is 17 meters, so about 55 feet.
About 50 to port, please. Stop now.
Reach forward and distance in 240 meters. Okay.
340. The lock is 500 meters long. Yeah. And this is 150, so that means it's still 350 meters to the north. Yeah, the lock is 500 meters. Nog een 80 meter, oké. Nee, je moet er allemaal daar, allemaal daar.
You mean I just want forward?
Okay. Mitch at the wheel. Mitch. Turn off of this.
Standing stern line, sir. Thank you.
Go. Stop out. Now 54. Turn 25. Turn 25. 150, turn 25.
So we've come to the end of this video. I just want to thank you again for joining me on this little maneuver and on joining me on my job. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop them in the comments. And don't forget, please like and subscribe. Thank you.